Hey guys, Ramsey here. Tonight we're doing a quick early impression of a fragrance that was sent to me by Eddie. Thank you very much, my friend. It's a indie oud house. You could consider them kind of along the lines of a Bortnikov, a Riesler Dore, something like that. The brand is called Agar Aura, and it's a brand I'm starting to get to know now. This is the second fragrance from the gentleman who owns the house. His name is Taha, and he's friends with Russian Adam. And this fragrance is called Agar Parisien. Okay, Agar Parisien is the fragrance. And so again, these night videos I'm doing are fragrance samples that I have enough juice to wear, give it a wearing, but I'm not going to wear it as my scent of the day. Just wear it before bed and kind of give you guys my, just initial thoughts, just so I could talk about it on the channel, because I'm not going to have a bottle of this. This is going to be, this is maybe I can get one more nighttime wearing out of this, and that's it. So the fragrance came out in 2020, and the idea, and this is what is listed on the Agar Aura website, is it says Western perfumery is synonymous with French perfumery. But when you compare modern Western perfumes to the vintage classics like the original Chiffre by Coty, which I've never smelled, I would love to smell that, or Guerlain's Jicky, which I have right here. This is the first modern fragrance using synthetics and naturals. You do notice the resemblance, but the experience is something different altogether. With over a dozen vintage French perfume recipes referred to, some even older than the classic vintage French genres, Agar Parisien was in fact formulated to resemble modern French perfumes, where the lines dividing the different genres are blurred. But although it is modern in its merging of genres, the use of high-quality, natural, and now seldom used ingredients gives it a sparkle which you will only find in the golden oldies. Okay, so before I get into the notes, let me just give you my initial impression. And this is before looking at any notes. These are just kind of some notes I actually jotted myself. So it starts off with a very clear frankincense note, to my nose, which reminded me a little bit of Oud Lubani. In fact, I've noticed some minor differences, but the openings really kind of reminded me of each other. This is obviously heavier on the frankincense, the Lubani, if you will. And this is, you start to incorporate a little more elements of the oud early on. And my notes were that it starts off with a very clear frankincense note, but unlike Oud Lubani, the oud is much more distinctive. And it does have some animalic facets, like you can tell that there is real oud at use here, but I can really see what they mean when people say, yeah, Taha has this very clean style of oud. You noticed it in Aquilaria Blossom when they did the collaboration with a Riesler Dore. And so he has this kind of clean style, if you will. The oud is definitely, it has a little bit of funk. I noticed it in both of them. The oud is a little bit more funky in Oud Parisien than in Oud Lubani. Oud Lubani is almost all about the frankincense, with just kind of like a backbone of oud. Now, I will tell you, when I woke up 6, 7, 8 hours later, whatever it was, Oud Lubani did, the dry down, the oud came out a little bit more than the first couple hours I had it on skin and then went to bed. Here, the oud comes out, you can almost smell it a little bit in the opening, but it's not a barnyard fecal oud, it's a clean oud with some floral touches, okay? That's the way that I kind of perceived it. And then there is something very disinfectant feeling about this fragrance. So before looking at the notes and before even reading about the concept of the fragrance, I got this very, like in the old days, the Rich Mitch talked about this on his stream today, that when frankincense is burned, it used to be kind of to clean the air, if you will. Because remember, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, before the modern sewer systems and all that stuff, the big cities stank. When a lot of people got together, they stank. They used to call them the unwashed masses, right? The unwashed masses. And so frankincense was kind of used to like clean the air, disinfect the air. And also, of course, it was a sign of prayers rising to God the Almighty, if you will. But it was also used kind of as like this disinfectant. And there is this disinfectant quality to the first 5 or 10 minutes to this fragrance, to my nose. And on top of that disinfectant quality, so the first 5 minutes is almost like a triforce of notes, okay? So you get 3 notes. You get the oud, you get the frankincense, and you get this wintergreen like clean disinfectant. I just dropped it. Oh, let me grab it. Okay. Yeah, so you get this clean, almost like wintergreen disinfectant, pine-like smell. And that's kind of what I got the first 5 or 10 minutes. And then the next 5 or 10 minutes, I started to get some more florals, okay? And this is where the brief really starts to come in. So here's the note breakdown. It says a top note of rose, bergamot, and grapefruit. I didn't get any of that. None. Still, the rose that I think I'm smelling feels like it comes from the oud. It doesn't feel like it comes from a rose. I'll talk about that in a minute. I definitely didn't get bergamot, grapefruit. I don't get citruses in the opening at all. Maybe they're there, but it's hiding behind that frankincense oud vibe, if you will. And it says it's ever present right from the get-go. I don't get that. Using one of our future release Wild Thai Ouds, that's the oud in here, Wild Thai Oud, the entire scent palette of this perfume was built around it while avoiding challenging notes or any elements that clash with Western perfumery structures. Cedar, oud, and the most amazing forestry oak moss sing their soothing notes in the dry down. That's what he basically wrote. It says genuine coumarin extract. So I should mention that one thing that he points out is it says intoxicating absinthe is one of the notes. Maybe that's where that strange disinfectant quality is coming from. This absinthe-like vibe. That's actually a great way to describe the fragrance smell, just in and of itself. That note, absinthe. If you ever drank absinthe, it has this very strange, taste and aftertaste. It almost leaves this taste in your mouth and, on your breath. And this fragrance has that absinthe-like vibe to it, at least what I'm getting in the first hour that I've kind of had it on. And it says that there's Peru balsam and our very own extracts of intoxicating absinthe and sensual coumarin. And then in parentheses, it says those who know the vintage differentiation between coumarin and tonka will likely appreciate this the most. So I'm not sure about that line. I'm a little bit confused there because I always thought that tonka in its pure form, kind of what Russian Adam sent me and what I smelled, is actually different from the synthetic coumarin, which we get in many modern releases use, coumarin. So I'm not really sure why they're talking that up as being sensual. I'm not sure what is up with that coumarin quote, unless he accidentally mixed the two, or my understanding of the difference between coumarin and tonka or tonka absolute is confused. But I always viewed coumarin to tonka in the same way as like vetiveryl acetate is viewed to vetiver. But again, I'm not a perfumer, so I could have that wrong. If anyone knows for sure, leave it in the comments. It says no synthetics are used, only high quality natural materials. And it says genuine coumarin extract, Irish ambergris. So there is real Irish ambergris in here. And that's probably a good way to describe it. Imagine if you took that ambergris accord and mixed it with that absinthe accord, that wintergreen like absinthe accord. That's a great way to describe the way that the fragrance actually smells. There's no barnyard oud, there's no fecal oud, there's none of that. But you can tell the oud is real because of the edges of the scent profile. So not the actual scent itself, but kind of the edges. When you smell it, you get this, it throws off the way that real oud feels in a composition, even though it doesn't smell barnyard or, fertilizer-like or anything like that, if that makes sense. And I mentioned I thought that the florals were coming from the oud because some of the clean oud that I smelled in fragrances like Aquilaria Blossom, which he worked on with Russian Adam, or some of the other ouds Russian Adam sent me, the clean ones had this floral facet to them almost, this rooty, earthy, like a flower in dirt, and you kind of get that here. But they say that there's rose in here. I don't get very much rose, at least not yet. So I'm not really getting the brief. The fragrance is not necessarily bad. I will say there's also supposedly a huge slug of oak moss in here. It doesn't smell like there's this dark, dirty, textured oak moss. Not to me. I mean, there could be. Maybe later in the dry down it'll come out. Because remember, this is really an early impression. These late night videos for me are going to be just very quick impressions of a fragrance. Usually when I test a fragrance, I like to test it and wear it as my scent of the day. Okay, that's my preferred method of testing a scent, is to wear it as my scent of the day. Like I did with Roxbury, if you check my previous video. From Aton's perfumes, Roxbury. I wore it as my scent of the day. I talked about it. That's the way I like to wear. I like to experience my scents as my scent of the day. But when I only have a little bit of juice, and this is very kind of him to send this to me because this is very expensive, rare, hard to find, discontinued, all that stuff, limited batches. But I still wanted to talk about it on the channel. I wanted to get my thoughts out there, that kind of thing. So they talk about vintage Western perfumery. It doesn't remind me as much as of Jiki. It doesn't remind me so much of Mitsuko, which is kind of a reference chiffre, if you will. What it reminds me a little bit of is this. I wore this the other day. This is Diorissimo, and someone sent me a very interesting, Dioressence. I said Diorissimo. It's Dioressence. Guy Robert's Dioressence. Someone sent me a very interesting article. Go watch the video where I talk about Dioressence as my scent of the day. It's 2 or 3 videos ago, maybe 4 or 5, I can't remember. But one of my recent videos, this was my scent of the day, and I talked a little bit about how much I love this and how I think this is Guy Robert's masterpiece. And someone sent me an article, and they were talking about how Christian Dior wrote Guy Robert and asked him to create this scent that was supposed to be with Dior's DNA, but with this animalic base. And apparently the story goes, Guy Robert had this challenging time creating this scent because nothing was working. Everything he did was wrong, and he, was kind of beating his head against the wall. What's he going to do to create this scent to satisfy Christian Dior? And he went to meet an ambergris dealer. And he bought this giant slug of ambergris for like $500,000 or something, which back then was an ungodly amount of money. It's like enough to, they said it would be enough to, fund Chanel's ambergris needs for like 2 decades back then, like a brick that big. And so the way that you test ambergris in the old days is they would kind of rub their hands on the ambergris and get it all warm and then smell their hands. This is what the article said. I don't know. I've never tested ambergris. One video I said the guy that I saw, the guy took a lighter and actually lit it and watched how it melted. So there's obviously different ways to test it. But in the story in the article, and again, this is hearsay from an article, but it said that Guy Robert took the brick of ambergris and rubbed his hands on it and smelled it, and he absolutely loved it. It was super high quality ambergris. He said, we'll take it. He went to the restroom and he went to go wash his hands, and the soap that he washed his hands with was mixing with the ambergris, and it instantly hit him what he needed to do. And so he went back and, called his buddy and said, hey, I need you to bag up this soap and mail it to headquarters or whatever. What is that soap, by the way? And the guy said, you're never going to believe this, but it's a Christian Dior knockoff soap. So it wasn't Christian Dior. It was a knockoff soap that tried to make the fragrance smell like Miss Dior or something at the time. I don't know what it was, but so Dior Dior Essence was created based on the smell of ambergris and a knockoff Christian Dior soap, which kind of made me chuckle. If the story is true, that's pretty amazing. But there is this floral top, this classic Chypre floral top that Guy Robert loves so much. Think of fragrances like Lanvin, Arpege Lanvin from the 1920s. Or I should have said Lanvin, Arpege. Lanvin's the house, Arpege is the fragrance. Think of those kind of fragrances. Think of the florals you get in Gold Man, which he created later on, or Kalesh or something like that. But then contrast it with this resinous Peru balsam. There's Peru balsam here as well, with some dirty oriental notes with a big slug of ambergris in the base. That is probably the closest French Chypre fragrance that I can compare Agar Parisien to. But to me, I would actually take Dior Essence over Agar Parisien. Even though Agar Parisien is really nice, I still get this lemony frankincense vibe from it for whatever reason. Maybe it's just the way that the clean oud and the florals and the ambergris mix together. But I'm not getting this refined Chypre. I'm getting a indie house creation. And by the way, if there truly are no synthetics, zero synthetics, only the high quality natural materials he lists, it is very hard to make perfume 100% natural. Extremely difficult to do. Most compositions need some synthetics to hold everything together, give it some structure. So I'm torn. I like it. It's not that I don't like it. I absolutely like it. If someone gave me a bottle of Agar Parisien and said, here you go, Ramsey, and it went into my collection, would it get used? Absolutely, 100%. Would I spend $200-300 on a bottle? I don't know what these bottles cost, to be honest with you. Would I spend $400 or $500 on a bottle? No, absolutely not. It's not moving me that way. I'm not getting moved by it. I would much rather hunt down some of the old Russian Atom scents that really, from my testings, that I would love full bottles. Like I would love a full bottle of Santal Galore. I would love a full bottle of Ottoman Empire. I would love a full bottle of Antiquity. Those fragrances that are on my radar that when I spray, it's like instant love. I just melt. I don't get that feeling with this. So it's a good fragrance, but my interpretation of it before reading the brief and the notes is completely different than what I'm actually getting on my skin. I like the idea. I just don't think it's executed very well. But again, this is only 1 hour in. I mean, it's literally like an hour on my skin. So just know that things very well could change. This fragrance could evolve. From what I've smelled of Agar Oria, from smelling Oud Lubani, and now smelling this, I don't know if his fragrance has evolved that much. I think it's kind of like what you see is what you get type thing. But again, this is only off of 2, and I'm sure he's done hundreds and hundreds of fragrances. So I am no expert on the House of Agar Oria. In fact, I just discovered it a week ago or whatever it was. It's brand new to me. So, but yes, I'm very glad to get to try this. It's another, check mark on the scent database up here that I can refer to and understand and know, and a video you guys can refer to. If you are familiar with the House of Agar Oria, leave a comment below. If you've tried this Agar Parisien, let me know what you think. Eddie, again, thank you very much for sending these to me, mate. Very kind of you, seriously. And comments and likes and all that good stuff, of course, is very much appreciated. You don't have to. Just you being here, watching, and participating makes me a happy guy. So have a good evening, everyone. Cheers, and thanks for watching this short video. I'll see you again tomorrow. Bye now.